Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I'm playing a deck from a donor who wanted to see this sort of blue-black shell but with a new card, Mockingbird, in. So this blue-black shell is one of the most powerful things you can do in legacy right now. Tamiyo, Psychic Frog especially, you've got Nethergoyf as a nice beater. Orcish Bowmasters is making a little bit of a comeback because you're seeing a lot more blue-black mid-rangey decks rather than full-on Rescaminator. And Mockingbird is a new card from Bloomburrow. X and a blue. You may have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except as a bird with flying as well. So we can, for 2 mana, get a flying Bowmasters, or get a flying frog, get a flying Nethergoyf. We can also copy our opponent's creatures, which is not to be sniffed at, because there's a lot of good creatures out there. If your opponent's got a frog, we can have one too. So it's kind of like having 6 frogs in our deck in some matchup. I'll take that. We've got a bunch of cantrips as you'd expect. We've got baubles to enable the Nethergoyf to have more types to be a little bit bigger. We've got 4 Fatal Push because we need to kill Psychic Frog. A couple of Stifles, a Sheoldred's Edict, a bit more removal, and then just the normal suite of counter spells you'd expect. And we are a Wasteland deck, so that goes with our Stifles. We can run a reasonable mana denial plan alongside it. We have 1 of each basic and 1 Undercity Sewers, so we can play relatively stably underneath a bunch of effects. And sideboard-wise, we've got ourselves Harbinger of the Seas to lock down a bunch of these decks with some scary mana bases. The Eldrazi, Cloud Post, that sort of jam. We've got a couple of cages and a Nihil Spellbomb. Anesthetic Extraction is a different sort of suite of Graveyard Hate. We've got Counterbalance, pretty good in mirrors. Being able to get some free counter spells is always nice. Nice catch-all answer from Brazen Borrower. A bit more counter magic. Consign to memory for like Eldrazi type stuff. Can also counter storm triggers. Toxic Deluge if we need to kill lots of creatures. And we've got an Engineering Explosives as another piece of removal along the way. And that is pretty much it. We're playing a bunch of good cards, and I'm going to enjoy having a Bloomburrow card finally in our main deck in Legacy. It's been a little while since Bloomburrow came out, and I haven't really got to play with any of these cards yet, so I'm looking forward to this one. Alright, without further ado, like and subscribe, and let's start getting some Mockingbird action. So we've got Tamiyo with Force of Will backup. That's not too shabby, and then if we can find a land, we can then deploy a Psychic Frog and maybe have Force of Will backup. The other option here is we play the Nethergoyf as a 1-2 and then try and play the Psychic Frog with the Tamiyo backup. I think we're just better off playing the Tamiyo out and having the Force of Will around. Alright, Badlands. That normally means something unfair. Unmask. Targeting me. Sound like it's going to go amazing for us, does it? What do they pitch? Archon of Cruelty. They're going to take our Force of Will. Do I want to conceal some information here? Or do I want to just let this hit? I think I'm going to conceal some information. I think we've lost this game already, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But this might give our opponent fear to go for it this turn. It might not do though. It's going to Entomb Reanimate. We don't really beat any Entomb Reanimate stuff here, so we can pack up our equipment and go home here. We'll see if there's anything unusual here, but we're almost certainly going to lose to whatever they reanimate. They might be wondering if we have any sort of main deck Graveyard Hate. Right, just Grizzlebrand. We're going to see a reanimate on that. Yeah, we're not beating that one. Alright, Graveyard Hate. As mentioned earlier, I would very much like to have these. We have to have the Force of Negation because our opponent is going full on with the old graveyard-based strategy. I don't mind a couple of Borrowers. These Fatal Pushes don't seem great, but our opponent might be pivoting into Daze Voidwalkers, but we don't really care about Daze Voidwalker that much, so I think it's fine. Keep the Sheoldred's Edict in though. The Wastelands can be useful in this matchup. It's not the be-all and end-all though. I don't think I want the Consign to memory to counter any triggers that our opponent has. Stifle can counter an Animate Dead. Is that where I want to be here? We need to make some cuts. Mockingbird is only good if we already have a threat. We're not going to be playing off our opponent's threats with it, so I'm sorry. We're probably going to have to board that out. I know everyone wants to see it, but Orcish Bowmasters is kind of an interesting one. It gives us extra bodies to sacrifice to a Archon if we need a couple of turns to get things going. It's not a blue card, and it does some... I think maybe... okay, we can get rid of a Bauble, I think, here. Alright, just get rid of a couple of Baubles. Alright, I will keep this hand. I'll play a Grafdigger's Cage. And then I have a Daze backup for if they have like a show and tell plan. Underground Sea. Let's cast one of our Grafdigger's cages. A Bloodstained Mire. So the thing we're worried about now is Show and Tell. Let's go for a Ponder first. I don't mind Brazen Borrower. It beats down. It is a threat. It means we have to take this Misty Rainforest as well. And that's acceptable. And we do want this other land. Are we playing out a second Grafdigger's Cage? If our opponent's got something like Serenity, then playing a second one out is really awkward. But I think a lot of the time it's going to be useful to have a second one in play. So it might just have like single targeted removal. And if they do have a Serenity, we have a Force of Negation, so we can just say no to that. Whereas Serenity could end up being a bait. Alright, so we've got Entomb. This is just to get something bad out of the deck, I think. It might be to put a monster in because they think they can answer the Grafdigger's Cage. Alright, they're putting a Traxxer in there. So now we get this Misty Rainforest. And we can deploy the Brazen Borrower as a threat and start beating down. I would like to get Surveil Land here, but I think just having some pressure helps. Because if they manage to wriggle out from underneath this Grafdigger's Cage, we can turn off Reanimates by beating them down. What colour land are they going to get here? A Raucous Theatre. If our opponent gives us a good bounce target, we can always bounce and then kind of carry on with our life and take this Wasteland. But given what's just happened here, I'm going to go and get ourselves an Underground. Is that true? I think it might be a snow-covered island because like, sometimes have Magus of the Moon in the sideboards. Let's just get a threat in. And then we just sit here holding up counter magic. I think it's worth adding an additional threat here. That does mean that we don't get to cast both of our pieces of disruption this turn. But they didn't do anything last turn. So what would get us here would be land, discard spell, into Show and Tell. Unmask, targeting up. Well, we have an answer for a big monster. If they Show and Tell here. Taking the Force. So now they know they have to play around a Daze, it becomes a lot easier for them to actually do that. Right, I would very much like a Surveil Land. Bash for 6. So Reanimate is looking very precarious as a card. Even if they can get out from underneath our cages. There's the blue source for the Show and Tell. Grief. Yeah, this is awkward. I'll probably hit the Edict here. Yep. But no Show and Tell. I could have just cast the Grief. That's so weird to me. Should have got a Surveil Land at end step as well. Right, tied it up. We've got useful tools here. Then we just carry on, really. Obviously, our permission gets a little bit worse on the play. Oh, sorry, on the draw. Because we don't get to have Daze available on turn 1. Grafdigger's Cage, we can't just play on turn 1. It's going to be a little tougher. I think I can keep just 2 Dazes against a turn 1. Right, mulligan down to this. Alright, we get rid of one of our Ponders. If we get rid of both Ponders here, or at least have a threat. Okay. Now, Nethergoyf will not be a threat on its own for a little while. Don't turn 1 me, please. If they casted that ritual here, then we fire off a Force of Will. Unmask. Pitching Entomb. Well, well, well. No Force of Will. This is why we should have kept the Ponder over the Nethergoyf, maybe. It doesn't matter here. Like, they would have been able to take the Force of Will and leave us with nothing. Oh, is that all you've got? Huh. Okay. I think we do our due diligence and get this Grafdigger's Cage in. So no to shenanigans from our opponent. So last build of red-black that I saw doing well, it had 2 Dathies in the sideboard. Not sure if I don't think we're supposed to keep in fatal pushes just for those 2 Dathies. Alright, we've got a 1-2. We've got Edicts, we've got Edict and we've got Borrowers that can take this Dathie out for a turn. And we can just go around it with things like Psychic Frog, which can usually race it. We've also got Tamiyo, which can shrink it and give us some other additional tools later on. Damage keeps coming. Play out our Spellbomb. And crack for 1. At present, we are losing this race by quite some margin. We've got Ponders and Brainstorms that can dig us into the things we need. We can draw a card off of our Nihil Spellbomb if necessary. Which might well be necessary. Undercity Sewers. Alright, let's have a look. Tamiyo. That is good enough. I don't think we suck with the Spellbomb because drawing a card to flip our Tamiyo is going to be really clutch. So if we draw the Tamiyo, next time we draw a land, we can then crack a clue, crack the Spellbomb, flip the Tamiyo, and then we can start minusing this. It probably still just keeps coming for our face, but it comes at a much smaller rate. The other option here is to crack the Spellbomb and look for a specifically Brainstorm. I don't think that's correct. Probably just going to die with a bunch of counter magic in hand that we don't get to use here. Mockingbird would have actually been pretty good in this situation, give us a shadow blocker. Circuit Extraction is not the one, is it? Oh, we don't get to draw a card actually, do we? Because it gets exiled. It's irritating. In we come. We do not have another Surveil land. Just going to get 100 to 0 by this one Doughty Voidwalker. Wasteland, that isn't really the one here, is it? We can play it out so we get to fire in the Tamiyo and draw a card. No, we got nothing. Well, we just got beaten down by this Doughty Voidwalker. That was very unfortunate. Yeah, we find a Tamiyo earlier and flip it, then our opponent is in a choice where do they stop us building up towards Tamiyo or do they just concentrate us on our life total? Yeah. Bit of an awkward one, but, you know, the red-black reanimated deck does a very powerful thing. Sometimes it's not good enough, but sometimes it very much is. If you don't stop it, then you're in trouble. Like, we had to mulligan quite hard as well in this game. Didn't give us the resources to do our pondering and things. Maybe we could have kept the ponder over the Nethergoyf, but I didn't know our opponent was just going to dump Doughty Voidwalker into play. Alright, let's go to round 2. Sure, I'll keep this one. It's a little bit land heavy, but I think it's fine. We can answer their first threat. We can play a threat of our own. We probably have to use our fetch land to do it, so that we don't get caught out by Orcish Bowmasters. What we have is not one. We can play our basics this game. Just one less thing to worry about. We have a 1-2. A Psychic Frog. Do we play our own Psychic Frog, or do we Sheoldred's Edict here? I think we Sheoldred's Edict here. Right, we're just in. Let's get to bash for 2. Next turn we can Psychic Frog with Stifle Daze. Opponent might have another frog. That would make sense. They might just not have any counter magic, but another frog would certainly... of bones. That's pretty good against what we're doing, isn't it? We can stifle the adapt trigger, but they are just going to eat our graveyard here. I like this card. I played it pretty much as soon as it came out in a mono black shell. No to Tamiyo. This gives us the ability to attack now. Let's go frog. Does our opponent have any counter magic? They do not. Sure, we leave the frog. We have another one though. What are they going to remove here? The frog, sure. So they can adapt once to make this a 4-4, and then they get that creature back for 1 turn. Like one of the creatures under it. A frog of their very own. Like 2 frogs each so far. So I'm leaving up the island because I want to be able to stifle. It does kind of broadcast what we're doing a little bit. Let's go to attacks. Our opponent blocks here. Then we can absolutely have it off. I know the Goyf is sadly not getting any better. So we might be able to blow our opponent out with the Stifle in a number of ways. So we could stop them getting flying. That's not that important. But we could stop them pumping their frog and winning a combat, which I think will be very important. We could also counterspell the return a creature off of the Emperor of Bones. Gaining flying. Do I want it to have flying? So we could stifle this, give our creature flying so they don't get an attack in. But then what's happening? That doesn't feel great. We can stifle the card draw. That doesn't feel great either. Many options, each worse than the last. Emperor of Bones is just better than Nethergoyf on this board. So they can adapt this multiple times. Do I want to hit this? I think I do. Big fan of this, but I think it's okay. Right. Let's see if our opponent wants to try and kill our frog. This is what Magic the Gathering and Legacy is like. Just frogs bouncing off each other. We get the first hit that actually draws us a card, though. This is very good. I don't know if I'm attacking with the Nethergoyf here. It's 1 point of damage. Alright, Bloodstained Mire. We don't have another Surveil land, so I'm probably going to keep this in hand. We can Orcish Bowmasters our opponent down and maybe just aggro them out of this game. So Bloodstained Mire is probably just going to be +1 damage to Psychic Frog. Emperor of Bones continues to do its thing. Let's get Bowmasters down. I think we ping our opponent for 1. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we just take this, if we just take the Psychic Frog, we have lethal on the backswing. Not a big fan of letting my opponent draw a card there. An Emperor of Bones, sure. And a Nethergoyf. Okay, that was actually a very, very good pair of draws there. We need one of them to not be a body, really. Fatal push doesn't hurt. So if we push away the Emperor of Bones here, this has flying and +1. So this is 4 damage. This is 2. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. This comes in for 4 damage. So they're on 4. They block here. They take 3. So we can't finish them off here. I think we attack with the frog. Chomping with the Nethergoyf. Counter players want a little cagey, but I think we're alright. We're going to shrink our Nethergoyf, who is perfectly happy to go under the bus if necessary. I've done this in a way that they can't attack with a flying frog. One card in our opponent's hand. They're attacking with everything. No, okay. Didn't think they would attack with everything. Don't want my opponent to have another card here. No cards in hand. We just have the win here. And they're gaining flying. So we can kill this Psychic Frog. So if we kill their frog, we take 4 here. On the crackback, they have 2 blockers. So they block this and this. And they take 3, 4, 5, 6. So not lethal. So if we chump block this and hope they don't draw anything good, then we get to kill them next turn because we get to kill this. Because this is going to generate an additional blocker. So I think we're once again letting a Psychic Frog hit us. Now in our opponent's main phase here, we do this now, so the beginning of the end step trigger doesn't save it. We need to have some interaction in hand right now. Alright, we got there. We intentionally let Psychic Frog hit us twice to win that game. Very strange. So, what would I like here? Honestly, our deck feels like it's kind of kitted out to play this one. Wouldn't mind access to a counterbalance here. I think that would be somewhat helpful. Maybe the Daze is less useful. I don't mind the Borrowers. They're pretty good into some of our opponent's things. So maybe we'll trim out a couple of Dazes here. And have something that looks like this. Like we can reset counters on stuff with the Borrower. We can have Consign to Memories to stop some triggers. But it doesn't stop activated abilities. I think this is fine. Just have a good time with our Mockingbirds. Just have more frogs than our opponent, basically. Yeah, this one looks alright to me. Got some good early pressure. Kind of have a frog if we need it. And our frog always flies, which is pretty cool. That way we don't have to eat our own graveyard and make the Nethergoyf for us. I think we just go Island Tamiyo here. Another thing I like about Mockingbird is that it is a 1-1. In previous sets of the game, something like this would probably be a 0-1. So it's kind of all or bust. Whereas at least now it actually can do something. Even if you can't copy anything. Not that I ever want to play a 1-mana 1-1 flyer. Right, we've got a Tamiyo. This can certainly get out of hand very quickly. An Emperor of Bones. Our opponent likes the Emperor of Bones. To start exiling their own things. Alright, they chose not to exile anything. Fair enough. Second fail push is nice to see. We have to get a non-basic here, which is certainly awkward. But we just kind of need to stay ahead on board here. We have the second fatal push though, so we can definitely clean up another creature, but Wasteland and Frog in one turn cycle would be pretty problematic. Now we can Stifle a Wasteland, so it's not the end of the world, but it's not necessarily how I want to use my Stifle. Let's attack with our Tamiyo. Right, we're already advancing a decent way in the old card advantage stakes. I could have copied that Nethergoyf if I wanted to, but this Nethergoyf doesn't feel amazing in this matchup when our opponent's running Emperor of Bones and stuff. A Psychic Frog. I'd very much like to draw a card here. Another Stifle. I was hoping for a land here. I guess we can still do it like this. I don't really want to play out the second Wasteland. Can I have a Psychic Frog? I can. Can I kill your Psychic Frog? Alright, they've had enough. First sighting of the Mockingbird, and our opponent conceded within seconds. Not necessarily to the Mockingbird, but yeah, we just got on top and stayed on top. Let's go to round 3. I just would like to say that the first game here, where we had to let the Psychic Frog hit us, was unusual and cool, and I hope you enjoyed that one. Alright, round 3, here we go. It's a bit of a weird one. Yorion Skynomad deck. That probably means that the Orcish Bowmasters are either going to pick up their X1s or make their Beanstalk worse. Let's play out a Bauble. I'd like to see what our opponent is doing. I don't think there's any point Baubling ourselves here. Recruiter of the Guard. Okay, so we're that flavour. I think this means I'm getting a basic Swamp here. Oh no, that one can't get basic Swamp, can it? Get this Bauble down. Play this Nethergoyf. We have removal though. In our opponent's draw step, we will have a look at the next card down. An Ether Vial. Spirit of the Labyrinth. That certainly dies to Orcish Bowmasters. Bash for 2. Play Tamiyo. Our opponent's about to see that Wastelands are going to be very good against us, which I'm not a big fan of. Hello, Wasteland. We missed a land drop. You got to snap that off, surely. Yep, so we will fatal push this with this trigger on the stack. We need to do this so we can dig and try and get towards a land. Alright, found land. Send in our clowns. We've got a fatal push if we need it. They didn't put in a Mother of Ruins, so that's good news. You see another planes? We are. You see a hardcast recruiter? We are. I think we go and get the Surveil land here. And Orcish Bowmasters. Like, one of them is okay. I don't know about another one. I think I'm going to put this into the graveyard. So our opponent can get something like a Solitude if they want to bap our creatures down. A Spirit of Labyrinth. And they're going to put it in. And then we're just going to Bowmasters it down. We have a Bowmasters here. Is this a turn we deploy it? Or are we just going to deploy this frog? And just get on board with it. Like, the frog might be harder to answer for our opponent. And it also might be a thing we can struggle to cast later on. Because if we draw like a Wasteland, we can't cast a frog. They might not want to answer it, thinking it'll be okay. We can always remove this Spirit of Labyrinth because we're holding a push, even if they Wasteland us. Now, if they play another Wasteland here, and that's going to suck. Like, at least the Spirit of Labyrinth just stops us drawing cards. It doesn't stop our creature from still being a big beat stick. Alright, Scrubland. Swords to Plowshares on our frog. Not a surprise. In comes the Spirit. You can Wasteland it here. Not yet. Right, I guess we continue attacking with our friends here. Let's see what they put in, then we can make correct decisions here. A Skyclave Apparition. Targeting our Nethergoyf. Sure, that's fine. Got a clue. Do we push? Push and ponder? Or do we Bowmasters down a Spirit, or do we just play another Psychic Frog? I think it's probably just another Psychic Frog. Why shouldn't I play the best card? If our opponent used their Wasteland earlier, we'd be in a horrible spot this game. Like, put Yorion to hand. So next turn they get to start doing nonsense with it. They've left up white mana, which is very much broadcasting a Swords to Plowshares. Not attacking is interesting if you have to plow though. Another frog. That's not the one I wanted, was it? Right, let's do some attacking. No blocks. Let's get Bowmasters on the go then. Let's ping off the Spirit. A Brainstorm. I was hoping for a land. Because now they get to start flickering this Skyclave. They don't have a Caracas yet. So it's just like a one and done for now. But instant speed 4/5 flyer is some amount of something, isn't it? Have they got something sweet to play here to get additional value? Oh, they're putting a Solitude in. Yeah, that's pretty horrible for us. And now they're going to hardcast the Yorion and then kill another creature. No? A Stifle. That's not the end of the world, is it? Alright, Tamiyo. Cast a Brainstorm. It's time to flip our Tamiyo. A Solitude. We could stifle this. Or we could stifle the big Yorion trigger that's about to happen. We want some lands and removal here. Like the frog. We want the stifle for this Yorion trigger that's about to happen. Psychic Frog is good for next turn. I guess we put land and then frog on top. I would like to get the Tamiyo down. There is a downside to this. If our opponent Wastelands us before putting the Yorion in, we don't get to stifle it. Our opponent has been very opposed to firing off this Wasteland. Okay. The thing that I said might happen, happened. So the thing about these Death and Taxes decks is they're designed to slowly grind away at any deck that wants to play the game for a long amount of time. Which is where we are right now. They're about to refill with the Recruiter as well. Do I think this game is winnable? I don't think so. I think we'll just call it a day. Value our time on that one. So Toxic Deluge is good here, as is the Engineered Explosives. Consign to Memory is weirdly very useful against a lot of the things our opponent is up to. Excuse me. A lot of the things our opponent's up to. Dazes are okay. Is Stifle better than Consign to Memory? So Consign to Memory will counterspell like Batterskulls and stuff, whereas Stifle doesn't. So I think the Consign is better. So we're looking for a couple of cuts here. Is this a matchup where I want to be wastelanding my opponent? I don't think it is. So something along these lines works, I think. It's the inevitability of this big Yorion coming down is a lot. I think we want to have some blue mana. Island Ponder. Oh, keep this. We can also play on basics here. Alright. I don't mind a Brainstorm. The Mockingbird, not very good on its own. Decided not to play on basics here. I think this is an any origin shuffle. I drew a Ponder. Thought Seize. I'm okay to protect my hands. Like, I think the removal is really important here. Right, let's Ponder again. Psychic Frog, more removal, fail. And, I don't know. I'm just going to keep this. Use Ponder's ability, no. We have a Force of Will if we require it. Just like a Thalia, I don't think we care. Stoneforge. I think we probably just pick that up with a Fatal Push here. Phantom Blade, I've not seen this card ever before in my life. 5 mana. Enter, attach up to one target creature you control, destroy up to one other target creature. That's pretty cool. Never seen this before in my life. So I think having the Force of Will to maybe protect our Psychic Frog is worth it. You're on to hand. Not the most exciting play. Crack this Polluted Delta. Get our Undercity Sewers. Get a little bit of mid-action going. Do I want another land? I think so. Because that allows us to hold up push and consign after we play the frog. Blue, black, frog. Alright, so our opponent's turn. Other planes, they are well on the way to casting a Yorion. A Skyclave Apparition. So what do we do here? We can consign to memory the trigger, or we can just Force of Will it and attack with our frog. Not having this in play is something I'm actively interested in. This does expose us to a plow if they have it. Solitude over the top. Yep. Yeah, I think our opponent's going to bury us pretty hard here. We're just firing on all cylinders. Just Bauble. We're going to look at our own library here. And if we don't like it, we can crack our fetch land. I do like that, so I will not crack the fetch land. Phantom Blade. This is a cool one. A Thought Seize. Alright. I would like to cast a Brainstorm. We'll leave a Nethergoyf in hand. I like the push and I like the frog. They're going to take the consign here. There's no point taking anything else. Well, they can take the Nethergoyf. We can just reanimate it using its escape ability. Opponent does not care about us having creatures. That's what I'm hearing here. Their hand is nothing but removal. Let's get our frog going. Got Fatal Push on top, which is obviously a great card in the matchup. A Path to Exile. Sure. We'll get an island, please. There's an argument to not search with this. An Emperor of Bones. Sure. They're going to take their own Solitude or Skyclave. They're going to get Stoneforge. Right. So next turn they can put in a Stoneforge and get the Phantom Blade. How are we supposed to win this game? It feels insurmountable. We know both the cards in our opponent's hand. But they're about to absolutely wreck us with this Stoneforge. Right, so taking Solitude. And they're going to adapt it. So they got 4/4. Which one they put in? It's got to be the Stoneforge here. No? Why would you not do this first and get an attack in? Have they got Flicker Wisp? So they do this pre-combat, then they get to attack for 3 as well. And they have a Stoneforge. Well, Toxic Deluge is in our deck. That is the only thing we're really drawing to here. Don't feel great about the old Toxic Deluge. Yeah, we should be on 3 life less than we are now. Yeah, I don't feel this is going to go very well for us. So we're going to get hit for 9 this turn, and then 9 the turn after. So we have to draw Toxic Deluge this turn. But for the purpose of Brainstorm, I'm not going to crack this fetch, because we might be able to see more cards by leaving it there. Yep, half our life total in the bin. They didn't attack. They said oops. A Fatal Push, that doesn't hurt. Exiling our Bauble. Let's get rid of some power they have here. Recruiter of the Guard, sure, have some more tools to ruin our day with. Just more recruiters, just wishing for more wishes. Why not? An absolute bodying. This is what Death and Taxes does to like these sort of decks. And yeah, it looked pretty good from our opponent's perspective. I just didn't feel like I could ever like stick a creature and do what we needed to do with it. At least when you have like Dragon's Rage Channer and Delver in your deck, you've kind of got this evasion on turn 1, and maybe you can ride that to victory. but like Nethergoyf feels borderline unplayable in this matchup. Alright, let's go to round 4. We're on the play for round 4. I do like a Tamiyo. I will keep this. Turns out. A Psychic Frog, sure. We could have sequenced this slightly differently so that we had a look first with the Bauble in case we saw something that meant that we wanted to Brainstorm. In case there were like a combo deck that we needed to find an answer to. A Lightning Bolt. Goodbye, friend. So we're looking at some sort of Grixis tempo deck, I would imagine here. Let's cast a Ponder. Just more threats is fine. I don't really want the other bits here. We're going to have to draw through them is the problem. But our hand is pretty good if we just keep dumping threats into play. And we can mill off a card with Undercity Sewers. Our opponent has a Force of Will. They pitched a Tamiyo of their very own. So this turn our opponent's going to play a Frog. And then we will push their Frog and play our Undercity Sewers. There is a Bauble. There is another Bauble. Gives us a very good window to cast a Fatal Push. Because this means our opponent can't Force of Will it if they have a blue card or a Force of Will in hand and drew the other half. This way we get to play around Daze. For Underground Sea. They're cracking to see this Wasteland that we're going to mill off, I think. Are we going to mill off or are we going to Brainstorm? I'll Brainstorm. Okay, I don't really want this Undercity Sewers right now. We could have just double Wasteland and try and bury our opponent that way. Let's get this Polluted Delta in. And we go and get the Swamp here. Make a 5/6. Wow, that's a big old Nethergoyf. Sure, you want to play the Wasteland game? We can play the Wasteland game. Psychic Frog. That is a good one, unfortunately, for us. Yeah, our opponent's Frog is going to be good here. We'll attack with a 5/6. We just have to hope that our damage outpaces our opponent's cards here. Another Nethergoyf. Let's take our opponent off black mana because that's the sort of colour that would be able to kill our Nethergoyfs. Another black source. Another Frog. Okay. Our opponent can draw cards. We can hit very hard. That's what this game is about now. It's a case of how good are the cards in the top of our opponent's library. They're just going in with extra cards to try and race here. They're probably going to have to chump block at some point. I believe we are supposed to Wasteland our opponent's black source rather than get the Surveil land here. Our opponent gets to draw 2 additional cards. Although if they do that, they will die to our Nethergoyf. So they probably only draw 1 card unless they find something good here. Are they in double chump block mode? That might not mean they've got anything, but it might just be the fact that they've got way more chance of winning this game if they can keep one of their Frogs alive. If they just double chump block in here, they're probably not winning the game. Alright, we got the game there. Excellent. How would I like to approach this particular game? What did we do last time? We brought in a Counterbalance. How do I feel about Stifle here? I'm not big into the Stifle, if I'm honest. Like, it's nice to have one. And then we'll cut a couple of Dazes for Borrowers. I don't think I want to be on the Deluge train here. It can be a bit sketchy into the old Frog. Island Ponder, but we do have a lot of lands. These matchups usually come down to an attrition of resources. I'll keep this. We at least have the Daze for our opponent's turn 2 play. No turn 1 play. They're playing around Stifle. Or they're about to stifle us. I don't mind if they stifle us here. They did not stifle us. Cast a Ponder. Actually, no, let's not cast a Ponder. The reason I'm not casting a Ponder here is if our opponent plays a Frog, I want to be able to Daze and pay around the opponent's Daze. Alright, they didn't have that. What's going on in our upkeep? When we have the Brainstorm, we can just fire this off on our opponent's turn. If our opponent has a Bowmasters here, how bad is that for us? Pretty devastating. We do not have a Bowmaster. I'm just going to put back a couple of lands here. And then we're going to crack this, go and get Surveil land. Or do we just get the Swamp so we can play on basics? Alright, I'm going to get Swamp so we can play on basics. Right, we're seeing some stuff from the other side. I think it's just playing around Stifle. All the red sources. Let's get Frog. Happy to pitch this land. Can probably pitch this Stifle without worrying either, so we're not going to get killed by Lightning Bolt. And Mishra's Bauble. They're targeting their own library, which probably means they have a fetch land. Here it is. Do they want the land on top? Or whatever's on top, sorry. Or do they want to crack the land? Black and a red. This is a Molten Collapse. Goodbye, dear Frog. Dear sweet Frog. Let's get some Surveil action going on. Do not require that. Nethergoyf. I'm okay with the things we have available to us here. I'm not going to ponder just yet. See if we need another threat or we need another piece of removal. I don't know what exactly I'm digging for. And we've got a spread of stuff in our hand that's pretty good. Ponder. Now this Daze, has seen better days, if you pardon the repetition. But I think the odds of it doing very much for us, whilst being slim, if it does get a blowout, it will be huge. This stage of the game. It's probably just going to be a blue card for a later Force of Will. Okay. There you got a frog. I think at end step I'm going to fire off his push. If it doesn't work, we can always borrow. We don't have another Surveil land, so not cracking our fetch. I would like to ponder now, though. I like the Force of Will. I obviously like the frog. I'll put the frog into play, I think. Attacks. An Unholy Heat. Our opponent is about to have a bad time. We got paid with our spells. We have a Force of Will on top. I'm not really into the Force of Will anymore. We can choose that later if we want to. The frog going. We have less cards to pitch to frog, but they have less removal to answer frog. And we can bounce something out of the way and just start drawing all the cards. Do we want the Force of Will on top of our library? We can hard cast it from next turn. They're going to see that we've got a Force of Will on top. If our opponent doesn't commit anything to the board, then this Force of Will is going to be great. If they commit something to the board here, then we can maybe shuffle away depending on what they commit. A lightning bolt on the frog. Do I want to get rid of both of the cards in my hand to keep frog alive? I think I do. Have they got a second piece of removal here? Blue. Is this a Murktide? It is a Murktide. Kind of wish I had the Borrower now. Wasteland, not the most helpful here. We're kind of at a stalemate here if we attack. Our opponent can't really attack us though. We can force through 4 damage here, but that's not going to help us. We've got a Sheoldred's Edict, and we've got another Borrower. Tamiyo isn't an issue. Coming in with the Murktide? No. Brainstorm, don't mind if I do. I do feel like I'm missing Murktides in a deck like this. I like Orcish Bowmasters quite a lot here. The Nethergoyf, though, is also pretty tasty. Tamiyo is kind of whatever. So we can consider forcing through a bunch of damage soon. Here we go. The old Bowmasters. First one on the Tamiyo. So their triggered ability goes on first. And then we put our 2 pings on the Tamiyo and it goes. Active player, non-active player. Unless I've made some sort of weird mistake here, but I'm pretty sure. What? Why is it like that? So they Brainstorm. They draw 3 cards, so these automatically trigger. But then so does that. I'm just curious why they're triggered in that way. I guess the first 2 of mine trigger, but then the third one triggers, so that goes on top. I'm sad about that one. Alright, so we can crash through for... So we could have won this game if we had just pinged our opponent's face. Now they get to minus the Tamiyo, which is a bit annoying. Still not attacking though. There is our own little Tamiyo. Oh, I got my graveyard. So I can get rid of a creature, a land, a sorcery, creature, a land, an instant. I only have 1 sorcery though. So we will shrink our Nethergoyfs if we attack here. We'll only force 3 damage through. Is that good enough? I think it is. The reason we're sending the Bowmasters is because they might want to block the Bowmasters. Then we force more damage through. We give our opponent more options to make mistakes with. So they take, what, 7 here if they block the Bowmasters. And that puts them in proper danger zone. Right, going for the Bowmasters and putting themselves to 2. That suggests to me that the 1 card in their hand is a cantrip. There it is. So they can use Tamiyo to buy back a Brainstorm here. But there's nothing else they can buy back, right? They're getting back a Brainstorm here. They need to remove our creature or play another blocker here. Actually, no, 2 things. Because they didn't plus the Tamiyo, it means they don't have the minus in play. So our Orc army is also lethal. Alright, they're conceding, we won the match. Yeah, I didn't realise that the Tamiyo triggers were going to go that way round. I thought we'd be able to kill it in response with the Bowmaster triggers. So I learned something new today. I assume that's right if it's programmed into one line that way. I guess the trigger goes on the stack when the 3rd draw happens. Oh wait, no, this is on our end step, wasn't it? That's why it worked. Oh yeah, we were the active player. That's why it didn't work. Yeah, I should have seen that because we did. That was in our end step, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the mistake. No, okay. Yeah, that was just my bad there. All right, let's go to the final round. We are currently 2-2, so we can put a positive on the board. We get to make a 1-2, but we don't get to make the frog. Our mana is a little bit clunky. I think we can do better. Yeah, I would describe this as better. What are we getting rid of, though? It's probably the Stifle. When are we holding that up, right? Let's just make all the guys, and let's face it, everyone came here to watch some Mockingbird action. So let's get some Mockingbird action on the go. Soul Guide Lantern. That's pretty reasonable against the old Nethergoyf. Right, so this gets us an island or a swamp. I think we just go and we'll play on non-basics here. If our opponent is playing Scalding Tarn, we're certainly Painter. Vexing Bauble. Good to know about. I guess our opponent could be on something different and wild, but I reckon they're just on Painter. No other deck I can think of plays Mountain into Scalding Lantern. Maybe like a Goblin's deck that's having a bad time. There's a Saga. We have a Wasteland for that one. There's the Bauble. So, Pyroblasts are a thing our opponent is going to have a bunch of. So we are very much incentivized to copy the Nethergoyf rather than the Psychic Frog. Our opponent's deck has got many Pyroblasts in. Let's attack. So we're either pondering here, or we're playing the Mockingbird. So they could have a Pyroblast and obviously hit the Mockingbird on the stack. But then that's one less piece of removal for our Psychic Frog. They could also bolt our Nethergoyf here. Alright, we've got a flying Nethergoyf. Keep the aggro coming. We've got a Bowmaster which can pick off something like a Goblin Welder. A Grindstone. Understood. A Goblin Welder. That's the thing I just said. Excellent. Do not allow Goblin Welders to live for very long, so let's smash this down. Let's take out the Welder. Get that aggro all up in our opponent's face. If they have a Lion's Eye Diamond and a Painter, they can win the game this turn, but builds haven't been running that for quite some time. There's the Painter. Our opponent needs any mana source to win the game next turn. So I guess we're going to be doing Brainstorms and Ponderings. What will you are a touch too late. Let's Brainstorm. These ones do not help. So I guess we go Frog goes back and Frog goes back. We don't really need more. Beat down. Then I will cast this Ponder. Any order. Shuffle. A Daze. That's not the one. If we cast a Brainstorm, what does that actually do here? It doesn't find us an answer. So our counter magic is off. But if our opponent cracks this Bauble to try and find some mana, that might help us out. Because we can counter like a Lotus Petal or whatever. Oh. They're going to get rid of our graveyard. Pretty good line, isn't it? Brainstorm. There's that fatal push we wanted. Not that it matters here, unfortunately. We get to keep our Nethergoyf alive. We only deal 1 damage. We're hoping our opponent does not have a land here. We haven't slammed it. A Goblin Engineer. We don't get to counter that. We're just going to get them... What does this get them? A Dragon Engine. Okay. So now we have 2 problem cards to answer here. So if we kill the Painter's Servant, they can bring it back, but it's going to take a while. But we don't really have a choice here. What this also means is if they bring back the Dragon Engine and draw cards, that's going to hurt them a lot. I guess they're probably not going to block our little guy there. It's one of the frogs instead of these forces, but our opponent bricked on land for a turn, so that's given us an out. A Goblin Welder. Okay. It's a Fury. Kind of feels like a Fury is about to happen. No? They were paying costs for something. Maybe they were thinking about bringing back the Dragon Engine. A Verdant Catacombs is not the worst here. We have a Surveil land, so we will be firing this off. It might give us some more damages here. Psychic Frog is a card I would like to have in play rather than doing 2 damage to us right now. Is that true? We play this, it deals... We put this in the graveyard. We deal 3 here, and our opponent is dead next turn and has to chump block a Nethergoyf. Sure. I'll take the extra damages. I will also sacrifice this clue. I don't think we'd find anything, but you never know. Alright. They're going back the Dragon Engine here. Are they going to give us the Orcish Bowmaster power? They are. We'll ping here. We'll ping here. We'll ping here. So our opponent's plan here is to... I don't know what their plan is, actually. I thought they were going to put the Painter in exchange for the Dragon Engine using the Welder. Because if they could put the Painter in, and then if they draw a land, they can combo us. But if they put the Painter in, we just ping the Painter 3 times, I guess. Yeah, well, they were just kind of under it, really. Toxic Deluge is okay here. Consign to Memory has some nice text. Engine Explosives is good. This only hits creature cards, so it's not actually going to stop that much. But the Spellbomb and the Surgical are nice. I don't mind having the Harbinger of the Seas here either. What I will say is Force of Wills feel pretty awful against the a million Pyroblast decks. So let's get rid of those out of here. I don't hate the Stifle. I like removal spells. Dazes don't feel great here either. Are we just going to be like removal? Let's go removal heavy. The Borrowers are also fine. But I think we'll just go in with bit more removal, some graveyard hate, some actual hard counter spells for 1 mana. A nice array of tools. This is a no from me, I think. We don't have the ability to cast our blue spells. This is fine. I don't think we need 2 Wastelands. We want to have Psychic Frog mana available. We can mess with their graveyard. We can strip all their creatures out. We can Wasteland as a Saga, which is a thing that I'm a big fan of being able to do. So let's just say no to Urza Sagas. I probably didn't do anything on 1 mana last turn, but that might be because they have like red spells like Welder and stuff. Alright, kind of wish we had the other one of those. No worries. Okay, let's get our Tamiyo up and running. So I have to imagine it's going to be a soul land. Yep, there it is. A Nethergoyf. I'll play this out. We'll attack with the Tamiyo. Play the Nethergoyf. What we can do here is we can hit the triggered ability of the search in the library. This is an activated ability, so we can't deal with that one. But I don't think that's the thing I'm actually scared of. I'm going to make a token. Yeah, I'm going to make a token here. So let that resolve. And then we will counter this trigger. Great Furnace. You see like a Welder or something. Alright, we've boarded out all of our free spells already, so this isn't going to do anything. Obviously our opponent doesn't know that. They have 4/4s though, which are relatively large. Little Spellbomb action here. Let's get another clue. Draw a card off that clue. So our opponent's going to be doing some beatdowns, but we have a Toxic Deluge which can maybe strip out a bunch of our opponent's things. Okay. So if we cast Toxic Deluge, there'll be 3 types in our graveyard. Right, I think we're just going to chump block here and then Toxic Deluge. How much is this for 6 is so much. I guess we go and get another clue before we throw our life away. Straight to the bin. But it pumps our Nethergoyf down the line. So if we pay it for 4, these 2 will die, then these will be 4/4s. Right? So if these 2 die, these are 4/4s, they'll both die as well. I think I've calculated that correctly. Everything goes bye-bye. There's a way we could have done that and kept our Nethergoyf around. Okay, we can pressure this nicely with our Bowmasters though. Surveil land here, we need a little bit of help. Fatal Push, that is good. So on our opponent's upkeep, we will ping this for 1. What this does is, it means if they even cycle once, they lose a permanent out of it. A Lightning Bolt for our little friend. Not a fan of that. Like, we still have a guy, so if they attack, they will lose their guy. I'll definitely take that trade. But now they get to actually do some proper looting. 2 engineers. Gone. Ideally, I would like to crack this clue token and get a little bit deeper into our deck. Let's see if our opponent wants his treasure. I think they might do. Yeah. No. I thought about it. Let's draw a card. Alright, ponders. I'm certainly a fan of having a ponder. Stifle is interesting. I wonder if we can use that in an annoying way for our opponents. If we keep this Sheoldred's Edict, we can kill the Fable of Mirror Breaker next turn. So I think we put Ponder on top, then the Edict, then the Tamiyo. And we can deploy the Tamiyo. If we crack this clue, the Tamiyo will flip right now. Because we've drawn for turn, we've cast a Ponder. Then we can sort of work our way up towards Tamiyo Ultimate, or just, you know, getting back some handy spells. So we can kill this before it starts tapping. That is the plan with the Sheoldred's Edict. This is attacking at us. It is. Do I want to take 1 damage? I'll take 1 damage. The treasure our opponent gets is more annoying, but we can't stop that. Pyroblast on our Tamiyo. I guess Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Yeah, that's something, isn't it? So sacrifice a non-token creature, please, opponent. Is that right, or do we just cast this Ponder first? So we sacrifice a creature. Our Fatal Push doesn't really work very well here. I guess we could crack the Spellbomb. Yeah, okay, I think that's what we're doing here. So sacrifice a non-token creature. So they get rid of this Dragon Engine or the Reflection. And then hopefully we can pick the other one up. So we hold priority here. We target our opponent with this. And then in response we Fatal Push this. And this goes to the graveyard. We draw an extra card here. Play a land out. Go and cast a Ponder. Any order shuffle. It's a land. Right. We're going to be chump blocking with our little Orc army, I think. Landing bolt to the face. Yeah. That's all good. Right. Let's go to game 3. That was a pretty good little game. don't think I want to do anything differently here. Like Vexing Bauble plus Pyroblasts is quite a lot of nonsense to make our Force of Wills and Dazes look very poor. Island Ponder. I guess that's a keep. We've got the ability to find quite a lot of important tools here. I think this is just going to be an island. And then cast Ponder. This is in any order in shuffle, I think. Mishra's Bauble. Let's get this before there's some sort of Vexing Bauble around. Right, Lightning Bolts. They will have an answer to a Harbinger of the Seas, but we have 2 of them. But if they're on, like, Great Furnaces for red mana. Soul Guide Lantern. So we're probably losing the Bauble here or the Ponder. Let's cast a Brainstorm. Quite like a lot of what I'm seeing here. I don't think we need this Misty. I want to have answers to Saga. I don't think we need this. The reason I kind of want both is so that we can fetch a basic swamp off of 1. Probably means we put back the Bauble here. And then this one fetches us a Surveil land or a blue-black jewel in Underground Sea if we need to fire off this Consign to Memory. We're going to see here. 2 mana play could be a Painter. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Nothing good has ever happened from letting an Agatha's Soul Cauldron resolve. So we know this first Harbinger of the Seas is going to get killed. Would I rather have... I play the Harbinger of the Seas this turn. So we want to fetch the swamp here. So we play the Harbinger of the Seas. They untap. They Lightning Bolt it. Then we play another one and a Tamiyo. And maybe try and lock our opponent out that way. So this shuts off as a Saga from our opponent. Which is one of the best cards in their deck. City of Traitors. So now they can bolt as well. But depending on what they're doing, they might not want to bolt it immediately. A Painter's Servant. I'm going to name blue. Just to make sure their Pyroblasts are extra good. Then we want to get Tamiyo so we can start drawing some extra cards. I want to get Nethergoyf because it's a bit of a beefcake. I'm going to deploy a Wasteland. Don't have quite enough removal for this. Right, a drawing card off the Lantern. Lightning Bolting our Harbinger of the Seas. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We'll wait till our turn, decide if we want to use a Wasteland. We're definitely firing off this Harbinger of the Seas. Do we want to get a Surveil land in first, or do we want to draw a card off of our Clue? I think we're attacking with both of our creatures. I think we're probably drawing a card with the Clue before we do anything else. Let the extra information inform our decision. Alright, the extra information was not very helpful. It is unfortunate. So I guess we're probably just playing out the Harbinger here. Feels like this one is slipping away. Don't have quite enough removal. Phyrexian Devourer. If they have a Soul Cauldron, we could be dead here. I think they're going to attack and get some treasure here. I'm not going to trade my Harbinger off for this. Vexing Bauble. Okay. Goblin Engineer. A Grindstone and give them the win next turn if we don't find some removal. And if we do, our opponent might have a Pyroblast as well. Alright, we are struggling. We just bricked off with like 4 lands in a row here. Let's draw a card. Nethergoyf. Just play out another threat, not that it matters. So our opponent has more than enough mana to get this going. But they might have to sacrifice the Vexing Bauble, which might make them change how they want to approach things. They probably just attack with the Shaman here, get the extra treasure, and then they're fine here. It's our opponent's game to lose. Are they going to make a mistake that gives us a win? Very unlikely. Yeah, we've drawn 8 spells and 8 lands, sorry, this game. So, not ideal. Alright, they're going to do it later on. So we have a chance to maybe draw something here. Of course we drew another land. I'll probably Grindstone us in response to the Clue crack, which means we have to keep the Clue ready rather than cracking it immediately. Which is a bit weird, but it is what it is. Alright, they're blocking here, which means they're probably... No, I'm going to say they're blocking, which means they're probably going to try and win the game. Play out a land here. And then pass. If I crack this Clue, they grind us in response. So we wait for them to Grindstone us, then we crack the Clue. Maybe we draw the Fatal Push and it's enough to get through this Painted Servant. Orcish Bowmasters, what do you do? What do you do? Not a lot. We need our opponent to somehow draw 4 cards. Or 3 cards is fine, actually. So they could do some sort of Dragon Engine type stuff. But why would they do that when they have the win on board? The fact that we're still playing might be enough to deter our opponent from trying to win the game. And here comes a Grindstone. Nope. We're just done here. Alright. So we finished up with a 2-3. Like, the deck felt pretty good. We're playing good spells. But I feel there's a little bit of tension and some stuff that I'm missing in the deck a little bit. So let's talk about it. So in order to fit in the Mockingbirds, I took an existing list and I trimmed, I think it was a Stifle and a Dismember. I would have really liked another bit of removal. The Stifle, not so exciting. I think you either want like 1 Stifle or 4 Stifles. I didn't really like 2 or 3 Stifles in a deck that much. Like the Mockingbird was fine. We didn't get to do that much with it, but we had a couple of games where it did some relevant lifting. What I will say though is Nethergoyf is not the 1 mana threat that makes me the happiest. Like it's fine. It can pressure okay. Sometimes it does get huge. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel that impressive. It feels very easy for your opponents to mess with. And it has some anti-synergy with the Psychic Frog too. What I did also miss in this list was just like a big Murktide Regent style thing. Because we got to a certain point and then our opponent has the ability to outscale us with creatures. And we don't have that as much. Because our creatures, like the Nethergoyf, can get big. It's very rarely getting bigger than 5/6, right? So we got what? Land, artifact, sorcery, instant, creature. Yeah, so the biggest it can get is 5/6, which is, you know, still great for 1 mana. But most of the time it's going to be sort of 2 to 4 power. Which, you know, isn't too bad for 1 mana. But again, it's fighting for our graveyard, and everyone was running loads of graveyard hate today. Even Death and Taxes running the Emperor of Bones in the main deck, which is really cool. It just felt like a little bit too much for us to overcome sometimes. And if we just had a couple of, maybe if these were like Murktide Regents instead, they would just be better. Just have a nice big monster and just say, here it is, let's go. I feel that would probably be a better place. The Bowmasters felt great. I like Bowmasters. I think they're a good card. I don't think they're too good either. I think they're like just about right for what we want for Legacy. Yeah, like Nethergoyf continues to be fine, but not the most impressive thing to me. I don't know what it is about that. I think if we were a more aggressive deck, maybe. But if we were a more aggressive deck, we probably want to have some like baubles or whatever. I think I like it more in Grixis, where you have Dragon's Rage Channeler to help fuel it a little bit as well. We don't always get to fuel it the most. I also did miss having a second Surveil land. I wouldn't have minded having access to that, just giving us a little bit more selection on command, because we got flooded out a few times. Sideboard wise, yeah, the tools are fine here, but I do think we need more removal in our 75. I did remove 1 removal spell from the original list so we could play with a new exciting Mockingbird card. I think Mockingbird is going to shine better in decks that have got a lot more creatures and a lot more creature heavy, because obviously we're not copying Tamiyo here because they're legendary. So we can copy a Nethergoyf, but that just means we have 2 creatures that are easily stumped by Nihil Spellbomb, Soul-Red Lanterns, whatever, Endurance. Then we have Psychic Frog, a great thing to copy, because it's like the best card in Legacy pretty much. And Bowmasters is fine to copy as well. But it just felt like if we had a deck that was more creature-centric. So there's a lot of people playing with like Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride stuff. Copying an Ocelot Pride with a Mockingbird or a Guide of Souls in that sort of deck where you're going to have a higher density of creatures probably seems a little bit better than having it here. So maybe there's something there that we need to look at. But yeah, this deck felt fine. We're playing like all the good spells. We've definitely found ways of beating this deck. Like the Death and Taxes matchup felt pretty horrible. Whereas if we had like Rescaminator stuff, we could just kind of go over the top with some things and win the game that way. But we just didn't have that big finisher that I think we needed. Like your big Murktide Regents of the world. Something along those lines would have helped out, I think. Alright, we're done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It does help the channel out. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.